had the plan. So look, I mean, since that 49er loss, which seems like a long time ago now, is there anybody in the league playing quarterback better than Dak Prescott at the moment?
I think it's fair to say Dallas is the hottest team in the NFL. Dak Prescott is the hottest quarterback in the NFL. And they are the clear-cut third best team in the NFC. I mean, it was a really strong performance again. And this is, to Graz's point, a stretch of 4 or 5 straight games where they're clicking. And I think offensively, the thing that you have to love that's really started to show itself ever since that San Francisco game is they are tying plays together offensively. This isn't one of those offenses that just nowadays is just lining up and running plays. They're showing you one thing, and then later on in the game, they're going back to that but doing a different thing. And then later on in the game, going back to that but doing a third option. There's so many counter punches to this offense right now, and it's absolutely led by Dak Prescott. So this is a very strong performance again by Dallas, and again, solidifying this is the third best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I'm going to push back on that. I think they're right there with Philadelphia. And when you get past the trade deadline, guys, you say, how can you improve? And on both sides of the ball, the Dallas Cowboys have improved and will continue to. On the defensive side of the ball, Marquise Bell and Deron Bland. Bland's already set an all-time NFL record guy, but when you lose Leighton Vander Esch at linebacker and you lose Trayvon Diggs and you can replace him with those 2 players, that's a great sign. And they lost on October 8th by inches to Philadelphia. This defense is better today than when they played them. And then secondly, on offense, guys, Dan, as a former quarterback, you know tight ends are so important.
Yeah.
Jake Ferguson, Luke Schoonmaker,
they're
continuing to get better. So to me, they have answers on this team on both sides of the ball.
Hawk, what are you seeing right now with the Cowboys?
Yeah, Dak Prescott is playing like the best quarterback in the National Football League over the last 6 weeks. He's 5-1. 70% of his passes are completed, over 1,800 yards, 20 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's played incredible. Now, that stretch has been very advantageous for him as a quarterback. The Chargers secondary, not very good. Eagles secondary, not very good. Giants and Commanders, both open sesame all season long. But what they're doing offensively is Mike McCarthy is trusting Dak Prescott. Earlier this season, it seemed like he was trying to run that new West Coast offense in a way that just mitigated risks and turnovers, and it wasn't the best version of him. Dan went on national TV and all but begged them to get CeeDee Lamb involved, and they've done that in a big way. It's no longer deke and dunk. They've picked their spots very much like they picked their celebration points, and now their offense is rolling. Now, the biggest test will be down the stretch. They play 5 really good teams, winning football teams, and as always, that's how we'll determine how good the Dallas Cowboys are.
Yeah, I still believe that Jalen Hurts and Brock Purdy are playing just as good, if not better, than Dak Prescott, and we have evidence against better teams. Let's focus on Dak. The biggest,
you have a tape, right?
Biggest change, or one of the big changes is, Hawk mentioned, getting the ball to CeeDee Lamb is a focal point of their pass game. But we've all talked about the legs and the advancement of that this season. I think the bigger part is not only the legs, but keeping his eyes downfield when he's using his legs. He goes to escape out the left side of his pocket. You see him go 2 or 3 times, like to go throw, nothing is there. Now 2nd and 10. This is a great job of, okay, I want to go pull the trigger. It's not there. Reset. Eyes are downfield. He's not running just to go get 3 or 4 yards. It does seem that Dak is back to trying to go create with some of his leg usage. This time, Clyde's out the front side of the left of the pocket. Eyes are downfield. This is an explosive pass play. There's not many examples in the NFL of explosive pass plays from like quarterbacks just going to be creative. These last 2 clips are Dak evading the rush, keeping his eyes downfield, and there's 50-plus yards in their pass game right there. So I do love that. Here's my whole pushback to all this. Dallas is the best and Dak is the best. Okay, first of all, there's 3 teams in the NFL, 3, that do not have a win versus a team that has a 500 or better record. 3, the Giants, the Bears, the Dallas Cowboys. You saying you put them on the same page of Philadelphia has 4. They have 4 wins versus teams that have a 500 better record. And Hawk hit on this. Like their last 3 games, they played the 28th, 31st, and 32nd defenses. I would hope that they would play good football in that stretch.
Right, but they have, and they're feeling pretty good. Look, yesterday was a lot of fun in Dallas, right? Dolly Parton's there. Jerry Jones had himself a blast. In fact, we want you to hear what he had to say about his team after this game.
There's 4 or 5 others, at least, that can win one, that can win it 2, that are sitting there that some of them we got to play and some of them will go by to get one. But this team's certainly capable of winning the whole thing.
So that's obviously how Jerry feels about it, that he's got a team that's capable of winning the whole thing. But you and Hawk have both made the point that the competition lately hasn't necessarily been the kind that proves that.
Right.
So my question is, like, since that San Francisco loss, when they caught fire after that, like, has Dallas actually shown you anything that makes you believe what Jerry's saying, that they have a real shot at the Super Bowl?
100%. And go back to Dan's tape a little bit about Dak Prescott and his movement. The other guy we're not talking about is Brandon Cooks. When we go back to what Dallas did, when they moved on from Amari Cooper, they kept looking for the Michael Gallups of the world. CeeDee Lamb has evolved into a number one, but Brandon Cooks is another guy that can hit a home run.
Sure.
And that element, when you think about the vulnerability of Philadelphia's secondary, now they went out and got Kevin Byard, that'll make them better. But again, with these tight ends evolving and Brandon Cooks getting the ball a lot more, he's a guy that's averaging over 13 yards per reception, has 4 touchdowns, but he's coming. And I think this offense is more explosive than it's been in the last year and a half.
I think to answer Graz's question for me, I phrase it this way. I know Philadelphia is good, and I know San Francisco is good. I think Dallas is. I have data and evidence that San Francisco and Philadelphia are both very good teams. I think
Philadelphia beat Dallas by a couple of plays in Philadelphia.
It was a close game, and they play again in a couple weeks in Dallas. Hawk, what are you seeing? Are you seeing anything from Dallas, given the schedule? You mentioned that the opponents have been advantageous, but are you seeing them do anything that makes you more encouraged than you might have been about them a month and a half ago?
For sure, because earlier in the year, I wasn't at the point where I thought Dallas was a good football team. When you watch them against the Arizona Cardinals, an opponent they should be beating like they've beat the last 6 opponents they've gone against, that was not the case. In the critical moments of the game, Dak was turning the ball over. The offense looked disjointed. It looked like it had no chemistry. It looked like it had no system or game plan. I'm kind of in the middle of Tannenbaum and Dan because, yes, I agree. I think the Eagles and the 49ers are the best teams, bar none, in the NFC. But at the same time, I have seen the Cowboys take that step, both offensively and the way that they are beating the opponents in front of them the way that they're supposed to. Well, yes, they have to do that if they're a good team, but they weren't doing it earlier in the season.
What's interesting is when we talk about the Miami Dolphins, we kind of caveat the conversation about the Dolphins saying, yeah, they haven't really beaten anybody. Every time that they've played a team with a winning record, they don't play well. We don't do that with the Cowboys, though. It's like, well, their schedule is what it is. How come it's okay for us to say that about the Miami Dolphins, and it's not okay? The Dallas Cowboys, nothing's changed over the last 6 weeks.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
They're a better team today they were 6 weeks ago on both sides of the ball. Because
how?
They're young players on both sides of the ball. Playing Marquise Bell and Deron Bland are playing as good as who they had to replace. And on the other side of the ball, they have 2 tight ends that continue to improve. And Brandon Cooks is a guy that we all know can take the top off the coverage.
Tommy DeVito threw for 3 touchdowns against this defense last week.
Well, I mean, some of that was at the end when, they must have had backups in at that point, right? Like, you're not talking about fourth quarter touchdowns by Tommy DeVito last week where the game was decided.
No, Washington, New York? No, that was like a close game.
Washington, sorry. I thought you were talking about.
No. I'm talking about versus Washington last week.
Gotcha.
So if Tommy DeVito, and great game by him, we can't sit here and say, oh, what Dak did to that Washington defense. It was another really good performance. Big picture, nothing's changed. They've beaten up on bad teams. They are a very good football team.
They are a lot harder to defend, again, because a year ago we're looking for a guy like Michael Gallup to develop, and it was all CeeDee Lamb. And now this year it's different. Like your tape showed, what Dak's doing with his feet, not only just for yards, but more time in the pocket. Their offense line's better.
San Francisco and Dallas play today. Who are you taking?
I'm taking San Francisco.
Dallas and Philly play today. Who are you taking?
Where's the game?
Philly.
Well, I take.
Who's the 1 seed right now?
Yeah, San Francisco. Philly.
Okay.